Hello everyone, this is Gamo Edits and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this tutorial, I will show you how to create an animation for a website-inspired design using the powerful Morph transition in Microsoft PowerPoint. So the first thing that I need to do is to open, of course, the Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm using Microsoft PowerPoint 365. And then I will prepare a blank slide. In my case, I'll be using a 4 blank slide, but of course you can extend it according to your preference. Then we will use a rectangle shape to cover our entire slide and then select the color of our preference. So for the first slide, I'll be using the color yellow, and I will just copy that shape to the next slide and then change the color to violet. So instead of applying a background color to the slide, we will be using a rectangular shape filled with color. This is because later on we will use this rectangular shape to animate the presentation, allowing us to seamlessly transition from slide to slide using the Morph transition. The next step is to add the necessary elements to our slide. In this case, I will add the text. Under the Insert tab, I will click the text box and type the desired word. In my case, I will type the word fries. Then I will use the font Bebas and adjust the font size to around 350. Let me just center the text box and change the color to white. Once done, we can simply copy this text to the next slide and just change the word accordingly. For this second slide, I will type the word nuggets. I will just apply and adjust this text box to the center. And moving on to our third slide, I will type the word burger, since we're going to add a picture of a burger later on. The next thing that we need to do is to apply the image that will represent the text that we just added earlier. For our first slide, I will just add this PNG image of a McDonald's fries. I will just center it inside our slide, and moving on to the second slide, I will just add an PNG image of a McDonald's nuggets and then adjust it accordingly to our slide. Moving on to our third slide, burger. So expect a PNG image of a burger here, so you can download this image from the internet. And now moving on to our fourth slide, we can add here different shapes to summarize our 3 slides for fries, nuggets, and burger. So I have just added a rounded corner rectangle shape here and duplicate it 3 times. This allows us to represent the 3 elements that we added to our slide: the fries, burger, and nuggets. Now it's time to copy this picture and paste it onto the fourth slide. We will repeat the same process for the others, but before that, we will change the color of these shapes to match the background of each respective slide from the previous ones for each food item. Then you can add your text, for example, this one. And then we can adjust it to center the text. Then let's apply some additional design to our slides. For example, I will add a PNG image of an individual strand of fries. Here I have 2 types of fries, one with a blurred or motioned effect and another one that is clear. I will select this individual strand of fries and position it or apply it accordingly in my slides. We can just copy each and design it accordingly to our slides. And now for the second slide, I will just add a nuggets PNG image or a transparent image of a nuggets. Just like we did from the previous slide, we will just cutter these PNG images. And now moving on to our third slide, I will just add tomato images. Same process as we did from the previous slides. I will also add some cucumber for additional design. Then after that, we will move to the fourth slide in my presentation and apply the naming scheme for each element. Since we have the same element from the previous slides, we will simply use a consistent naming scheme. I will use the selection pane in changing the format name for each element and apply the double exclamation format followed by the name of your choice. We are applying this naming scheme to avoid any confusion for the system when applying the morph transition. We will follow the same approach for the next set of elements. This helps prevent any confusion for the system, especially when we have similar shapes or elements from the previous slides. I have also explained this concept in one of my previous videos on how to use the morph transitions effectively. For example, this one, I will name it as double exclamation and then burger. And then for this one, double exclamation format, background. And we will apply here double exclamation format burger title, double exclamation burger text. We will also apply the same principles for these nuggets elements. We will also apply the same principle for the backgrounds. For example, in slide 1, we will rename it with double exclamation point followed by the name, for example, yellow. And moving on to our slide 2, double exclamation point and then violet. For the third slide, we will just select the rectangular background and then rename it with double exclamation point, then red. And lastly, for our fourth slide, we will rename it as double exclamation point and then white. The next step is to enable the sliding effect with Morph. We will add the previous slide to the left side and the next slide to the right side. Since the first slide doesn't have a previous slide yet, we will copy the entire second slide and paste it on the right side of the first slide, which will be our next slide. And since we don't have a previous slide yet, we will leave the left side empty. Now, moving on to the second slide, since we have the previous slide, which is the slide 1, we will copy that and place it on the left side of the slide 2. We will just copy this entire slide 1, which is basically about the fries, and then paste it on the left side since this is our previous slide. Then we will copy the entire third slide and paste it on the right side of the slide 2 as it will be our next slide. I'm just going to paste it and move it to the right side of the slide 2 since this is going to be our third slide. The same principles will be applied to the third slide. We will copy the entire second slide and move it to the left side of the slide 3. Ctrl C and then go back to slide 3 and move it to the left. And for our next slide, I will copy the entire fourth slide and paste it on the right side of the slide 3 since this will be our expected next slide. Finally, for the last slide, we will copy the previous slide, which is the slide 3, to the left side of the slide 4. So whenever we shift from slide 3 to 4, that burger slide will go to the left through slide motion with the help of the morph transition. And since we don't have a next slide, we will keep the right side empty of the fourth slide. Then we will apply the morph transition to all slides. Under the transition, click the morph and make sure to apply it to all slides. And now let's see the progress so far for this tutorial. As you can see, we had just achieved the sliding effect from one slide to another with some smooth animation. Now to make this animation more interesting, we will move some of our PNG images to create a dynamic and varied effect. For example, the nuggets PNG images on the left side of the slide 1 will be moved in both upward and downwards direction. This way, when we transition from slide 1 to slide 2, the PNG images will move in that direction. So let's see the preview so far for that. And that's the movement of the nuggets when we transition from slide 1 to slide 2. Now it's time for the fries to have the PNG images have their exit. For example, these three fries will be moved downwards and the 2 upwards. So whenever we shift from slide 1 to the slide 2, it will go in that direction. Now let's see the preview. So now it's a combination of the animation of both the nuggets and the fries. As you observe in the first slide, the nuggets were placed here, and the second slide, they were placed here. For the fries, they were placed here, and in the second slide, they are outside the main slide. So that's how morph transition works for this type of presentation. To also apply the same principles for the next slides, for example, for the tomatoes and cucumber here in the second slide, you will move them in both up and down direction, so they will have their entrance in that direction. And for the nuggets in the third slide, we will move them up and down, so they will exit once we transition from slide 2 to the slide 3. So here's the preview for that. And now moving on to our next step, which is basically here, we will try to move these 3 elements from the fourth slide to the bottom of our third slide. So this will act as their entrance animation or their official or initial place before the morphing. So I just move this here, and let's move this PNG images of fries, burger, and nuggets upwards, so the direction will vary and will become dynamic. And now let's try to move these elements or shape with different spacing or distance for the delay effect, including these images below or above. So we're doing this for the delay effect of the morph transition, and that is perfect. And now, since we're done placing our PNG images, or we're done setting up these images for our morph, now let's try to add some arrow icons so we can navigate from slide to slide, from previous slide to the next slide. So let's choose some arrows here from the stock images or icons provided by Microsoft 365. Let's try this. Insert. And now let's choose color. Let's try this one. And this will be our icon or the clickables for the previous slide. So whenever we click this icon, it will go to the previous slide. And now let's try to mirror this one. So this icon will serve as our clickables for our next slide. And now let's try to center these 2 icons to the center of our slide. Now we will also add some hyperlink function for these 2 icons, so actions will be done whenever we click these icons. For example, this arrow facing to the left, we will right click that and add some hyperlink function that will go to the previous slide. Just right click this icon and then click the link and then place in this document and then click the previous slide. So whenever we click this icon, it will go to the previous slide. And as the opposite of that, we will right click this link and then place in this document, and this time we will click the next slide. So whenever we click this icon, it will go to the next slide, and we will just copy this to the next slide since this will function the same. And here at our fourth slide, since these arrows are not evident, we will change the color so they can be seen, and that's it. And let's try to move this upwards. Let's try to move this and this again. Perfect. Now let's try to add some text for this. For example, this one for additional design. We will just copy this and make sure to paste it the same for the next slides. And since we have here a white background, we'll just change the color to black. And now here is the final output for this tutorial. So whenever we click this arrow icon that is facing right, it will go to the next slide. And once we click the arrow icon that is facing left, it will go to the previous slide. And that's basically it. I hope you learned something new for this tutorial. If you have some questions, clarifications, just comment down below. Again, this is Gamo Edits, and thank you for watching.